Hi everyone. Today we will talking about climate change and environmental risk management using the transport industry in Hong Kong as our case study. So nowadays, climate change is not only an environmental issue, it has also become a major risk management challenge for many organizations around the world. Industries that rely heavily on infrastructure such as transportation are especially vulnerable to climate-related events like floods and typhoon. In this presentation, we will explain what climate risk is, why it matters to the transport industry, the challenges faced by Hong Kong's transport sector, and how organizations can manage these risks effectively. Before looking at the case study, let's first understand what climate risk means. Climate risk refers to potential negative effect that climate change can have on a business or organization. There are two main types of climate risk. The first is physical risk. There are risks caused directly by climate events such as typhoon, floods, heat wave, and rising sea levels. These events can damage infrastructure, interrupt operations, and increase costs. The second type is transition risk. This refers to the risk that arise as a countries and a business move toward a low-carbon economy. For example, include stricter environmental regulations, carbon taxes, and new sustainability requirements. These risks are important because they can affect a company's operation, profitability, reputation, and future growth. Therefore, climate risk should be considered an important part of an organization's overall risk management strategy. Climate risk is particularly important for the transport industry because transportation systems depend on physical infrastructure and continuous operations. Roads, railways, ports, airport, and public transportation services need to operate safely and effectively every day. However, the systems are highly exposed to weather conditions. For example, typhoons can damage infrastructure and cause service delays. Flooding can block roads and disrupt railway services. Heat wave can affect equipment performance and increase maintenance costs. In the long term, rising sea levels may threaten transport facilities located near coastal areas. Because millions of people rely on transportation every day, disruption can create significant economic and social impact. For this reason, climate risk management is not only about protecting infrastructure, it is also about ensuring public safety, maintaining service reliability, and supporting business continuity. Now let's focus on the main issue discussed in this case study. Hong Kong is one of Asia's most important cities and transportation hubs. Because it is located along the coast, it is highly vulnerable to climate-related hazards. In recent years, Hong Kong has experienced stronger typhoon, heavier rainfall, and more frequent flooding. At the same time, sea level rise is expected to create additional challenges for transport infrastructure in the future. These environmental changes create serious risks for the transport industry. The main problem is that the climate-related hazard can affect the safety, reliability, and efficiency of transport services. When transport systems are disrupted, the effects spread beyond transport companies, and also businesses, workers, tourists, and supply chain can all be affected. Therefore, transport organizations need effective risk management strategies to prepare for climate-related uncertainties and maintain operational resilience. Also, this case study explores how transport organizations in Hong Kong manage climate-related risks through governance and risk management practices. Hong Kong is a useful case study because it has several characteristics that increase climate vulnerability. These include a dense urban population, extensive transport infrastructure, a coastal location, and frequent exposure to extreme weather events. One of the key findings of the case study is that climate change should not be viewed only as an environmental issue. It should also be treated as a strategic business risk. The study emphasized the importance of strong corporate governance, and also climate related risks should not only be managed by operational staff but should also receive attention from senior management and company boards. Many organizations are now integrating climate consideration into their strategic planning, investment decision, and risk assessment process. Overall, the case studies show that organizations must take proactive approach instead of waiting for disaster to happen. They should identify risks early, assess their potential impact, and implement measures to improve resilience. In the next session, we will analyze the risks using a risk management framework and discuss possible mitigation strategies.
Hello everyone, my name is Irina. On this slide, I will explain how we applied the ISO 31000 Risk Management Framework to assess climate-related risks in the transportation industry. The first step is risk identifications. In this stage, we identify the major climate threats that could affect transportation operations. The main risks are typhoon, flooding, heat wave, and sea level rise. These risks were selected because they can directly impact transportation service, infrastructure, and public safety. The second step is risk analysis. After identifying the risks, we analyze how likely they are happens and how serious their impact could be. For example, typhoon and flooding occur quite frequently and can cause major disruptions, while sea level rise develop more slowly but can create long-term challenges. The third step is risk evaluations. In this stage, we compare all identified risks and determine which risk should be prioritized. This helps the company focus its research on the most critical threats. The fourth step is risk treatment. Once the priority risks are identified, the company can develop strategies to reduce their impact. These strategies may include strengthening in infrastructure, improving drain system, creating emergency response plan, and investing in climate resilient technologies. The final step is monitoring and review. Climate risks are constantly changing, so risk management should be an ongoing process. Companies must regularly monitor climate conditions and review their mitigation strategies to ensure they remain effective. After applying the ISO 31000 framework, we evaluate the identified risks using a risk matrix. As shown in the table, typhoons are categorized as extreme risks. They have a high likelihood of occurring and can have severe consequences for transportation operation. Strong winds and heavy rainfall can damage infrastructure, delay service, and create safety concerns for passenger and employee. Flooding is also classified as extreme risk. Flood can block roads, damage transportation facility, and disrupt daily operation. Because flooding occurs frequently can affect large area, it is concerned one of the most significant risks for transportation sector. Heat waves are classified as moderate risk. Although they may not cause immediate operation shutdown, they can affect employee health, increase energy consumptions, and reduce efficiency of transportation system. Sea level is categorized a high risk. This risk develops gradually over time, but it can have serious long-term effect on transportation infrastructure located near the area. Based on this analysis, the two highest priority risks are typhoon and flooding. These risks have both a high probability of occurring and a significant impact on operation, finance, and safety. From a risk management perspective, this finding suggests that transportation companies should focus their mitigation effort on reducing an effect of typhoon and flooding. By addressing this risk first, company can significantly improve their resilience and maintain business continuity during extreme weather events. Now look at the cause and impact of these climate-related risks. The first major cause is climate change. Rising global temperature are increasing the intensity of storms, causing heavy rainfall and creating more frequent extreme weather events. As a result, transportation systems are facing greater exposure to climate-related disruptions than in the past. The second cause is geographic features. Many transportation networks are located in coastal regions or densely populated urban areas. These locations are naturally more vulnerable to flooding, storm, and sea level rise. This risk can create severe important impact on the transportation industry. First, there is operational impact. Extreme weather even can cause road closure, service delay, and disruption to transportation network. This affect the ability of company to provide reliable service to customer. Second, there is a financial impact. Transportation company may face high repair costs for damaged infrastructure and equipment. They may also experience revenue losses when services are interrupted. Third, there is safety impact. Severe weather conditions can increase risk to both passenger and employee. Protecting human safety must always be a top priority for transportation organizations. Finally, there is the reputation impact. Frequent service disruption can reduce public trust and customer confidence. If customers view a company as unreliable, they may choose alternative transportation options. In conclusion, climate change presents significant risks to transportation industry. The ISO 31000 framework organization can better understand these risks, prioritize the most critical threats, and develop effective strategies to protect their operation, employee, and customer. By taking this action today, transportation company can become more resilient and better prepared to future climate challenge.
Next is about current mitigation strategies. So after identifying and assessing the climate risks facing Hong Kong's transport industry, the next step in the risk management process is risk treatment, which focus on reducing the likelihood and impact of this risk. The first strategy is infrastructure adaptation. Transport operators have invested in improving drainage systems, reinforcing tunnels, bridges, and railway structures, and implementing flood barriers. So these measures help reduce physical damage and service disruptions caused by typhoons and heavy rainfall. The second strategy is the use of early warning and monitoring systems. So by utilizing real-time weather monitoring, typhoon warning systems, and flood prediction technologies, transport operators can identify potential threats in advance and take preventive actions before disruptions occur. So this improves preparedness and reduces the operational uncertainty. The third strategy is business continuity planning. Since extreme weather events cannot always be avoided, so organizations need to develop contingency plans to maintain essential services. For example, like alternative transportation routes, emergency operating procedures, and backup communication systems. So these plans help minimize interruptions and ensure passenger safety during extreme weather conditions. Overall, these mitigation strategies demonstrate that climate risks are being managed proactively rather than reactively, which is a key principle of effective risk management. Next, I'm gonna explain about limitations and challenges. So although the current mitigation strategies improve resilience, but several challenges still remain. The first challenge is climate uncertainty. Future climate conditions are difficult to predict accurately. While organizations can use climate models and historical data, it is still challenging to estimate the exact frequency and severity of future extreme weather events. So as a result, risk assessments may need to be updated regularly. The second challenge is high financial cost. Infrastructure upgrades, flood protection systems, and monitoring technologies require significant investment. So, even though these measures can reduce future losses, but they may place a financial burden on transport operators in the short term for the company. Another challenge is aging infrastructure. Many transport systems were originally designed based on historical climate conditions and may not be fully equipped to withstand the increasing intensity of extreme weather events. So this increases maintenance requirements and vulnerability. The final challenge is the long-term nature of climate risks. So, unlike many business risks that have immediate impacts, climate risks often develop gradually over years or decades. So, because of this, organizations may find it difficult to justify large investments when the benefits may not be visible for a long time. Therefore, while current strategies reduce risk exposure, they cannot completely eliminate climate-related risk. So, continuous monitoring and adaptation will remain necessary. So now here are the recommendations for improving climate risk management. Based on the findings of the case study, several recommendations can further strengthen climate risk management in Hong Kong's transport industry. The first recommendation is to integrate climate risk into enterprise risk management or ERM. So climate change should not be treated only as an environmental issue. Instead, it should be recognized as a strategic business risk that affects operations, finance, and long-term sustainability. And integrating climate risk into ERM can improve resource allocation, risk oversight, and decision making. The second recommendation is to conduct regular climate risk assessments. Since climate conditions continue to evolve, so organizations should frequently reassess their risk exposure using methods such as scenario analysis, stress testing, and updated risk matrices because this enables more accurate risk identification and better preparedness. The third recommendation is to invest in climate-resilient infrastructure. Examples is like flood-resistant transport systems, improved drainage capacity, and heat-resistant construction materials. Although these investments may be costly, but they can significantly reduce disruption costs and improve operational reliability over time. The fourth recommendation is to strengthen collaboration among key stakeholders, including government agencies, transport operators, and environmental experts. Through information sharing and coordinated planning, organizations can develop more effective responses to climate-related threats. So together, all of these recommendations can enhance the industry ability to manage future climate risk and improve overall resilience. In conclusion, this presentation has examined climate change and environmental risk management through the case study of Hong Kong's transport industry. We first discussed climate risk and identified the major environmental threats facing the industry, including typhoons, flooding, extreme rainfall, and sea level rise. Using a risk management framework, we found that typhoons and flooding represent the highest priority risk because of their high livelihood and severe impact on transport operations. The case study also showed that organizations are already implementing various mitigation strategies, including infrastructure adaptation, monitoring systems, business continuity planning, and corporate governance measures. However, challenges such as climate uncertainty, high costs, and aging infrastructure continue to limit the effectiveness of these strategies. So, therefore, organizations should continue improving their climate risk management practices through stronger governance, regular risk assessment, resilient infrastructure investment, and greater stakeholder collaborations. And ultimately, climate change should be viewed not only as an environmental issue, but also a strategic business risk. Effective risk management is essential to ensuring the long-term resilience, safety, and sustainability of Hong Kong's transport industry. And that's all from us. Thank you for listening.